guys? Welcome to Big Beard Vin's episode 255. All right, look, check it out first and foremost. As I say every time I start one of my shows, if you are one of the people who are in a shape, who are in a situation, who's in some kind of bad spot, and you feel like you don't belong, you feel like you can't get around, you feel like you can't do anything right, I'm going to tell you, first and foremost, you are wrong. You are somebody. You need to start focusing on yourself. You need to start realizing who you really are, because in the end, that's important. A lot of us are going through things that we don't talk about. And if that's you, I hope that you heal from that. We all get down and out. We all get, well, tonight's topic, sadness. Now listen, sadness is that condition or quality in being sad, right? It's the source of great not feeling good stuff. Okay? It's similar to the sorrow and regret that we can feel and depression. Sometimes we don't realize or we forget that people will go through things. I mean, when you think of sadness, what do you think of? By definition, it says an emotional pain associated with or characterized by feelings of disadvantage, loss, despair, grief, helplessness, disappointment, and sorrow. I mean, there's usually 4 stages and levels, if you will, of sadness, and that leads to depression if it's not treated or looked at. I mean, it can be normal. It can be a normal thing, but a lot of the times it's not what we want. Usually there's an underlying problem. When it leads to depression that's untreated, there are 4 stages of the depression, and it is sadness. It is mild depression, clinical depression, and suicidal ideation. It hurts my heart to know that so many people walk around feeling unhappy, hopeless, or sorrowful. I've been a victim of those things. I am a victim of those things. Depression, sadness is not something that should be looked over, in my opinion. I mean, it can be caused, like I said, by loss, disappointment, or negative situations. But what does the sadness do to you? Do you ever feel like crying? I do. Being alone? Yeah. Believe it or not, I do. Feel grumpy, bored, or just frustrated. Here's one that gets people. You ever feel like avoiding others? I do. I do. I'm an outgoing person, right? I'm the clown. Ha ha. Just like I told my boss the other day, everybody loves it when a clown makes you laugh, but ain't nobody like it when the beast growls. You know what I'm saying? You ever have like stomach acne or headaches or stomach ache, acne as well is what I was going to say. Some of those things can be caused by sadness that led to depression. That's your feelings. Sadness is a feeling. Sadness can be like, it can be a behavior. You can become lethargic, or how about this one? Withdraw from others. I've been known to be, withdrawing from others is probably something that I have dealt with a lot. Slumping over, or the drooping posture. Believe it or not, that's the signs of this behavior. People don't do it on purpose. They do it. It's part of it. It's like avoiding eye contact, or you're looking down a lot. frowning or looking sad, real sad or solemn. Losing interest in activities that they normally enjoy. That's a big thing. I mean, facial expressions and raised, pulled together, the inner portion of the eyebrows pulled down, the corner of the lips, and the chin pushed up. I'm just saying, there's all types, there's all types of sadness. Agony, anguish, the broken hearts that we get, the hurt, the detection, dismay, and distress. Sadness is usually brought on by a situation that really messes us up, even if it's a loved one that passed on. That's what gets most people down. Sadness, I don't know if it's contagious, but it's definitely real. Sadness is so real that it can actually cause physical sensations in your body. That's true. You can look that up. Lots of things are affected, like your stomach aches, like I said, and your head aches, chest constriction, watery eyes, raw throat. It can do that. Lack of energy or disturbed sleep. I think a lot of the times I am sad. I mean, it can impact your mood and behavior as well. We know that. Feeling teary or grumpy, bored, frustrated, like I said earlier, those are the things that they're signs. Slowed walking speed or crying a lot, obviously, is, I look at sadness as closely linked to your body system. Your cardiovascular gets affected by your sadness, whether you know it or not. It goes down in your body and does these mind-changing connections. I think it's your autonomic nervous system. But if you're experiencing prolonged sadness, you might actually have depression. It is depression is very serious. It's a mental illness that also can cause the loss of interest in your activities, difficulty concentrating. That's the one that, appetite changes or sleep problems or guilt or thoughts of not wanting just to live. Hopelessness is, it's in us. And a lot of us, we don't need that kind of sadness. When you feel like you're, not interested in stuff anymore, or your changes in your appetite or your weight, or you're having low energy, or like I said, one of the, is hopeless or worthless. That could be a symptom of clinical depression, also known as major depression. Cause that intense feeling and sadness and worthlessness. All that can be the reason you do or do not function well in everyday life. Your ability to function in everyday life will be impacted. I come on here week after week and I talk about things that I see, and I talk about things that, hell, I go through. And I realize that sadness is on a lot of people right now. And a lot of you, it's not. For a lot of you, you're overcoming things. You have overcame things. You're going through it, or you went through it. I mean, when it comes to sadness, though, folks, it's another type of emotion. It's also defined as transient emotion, and the state, it's characterized by feeling of disappointment, grief, hopelessness. That's a repetitive word you will hear when it comes to sadness, is hopelessness. Disinterest, the dampening mood. Like other emotions, sadness is sometimes all people experience from time to time. You don't have to look far to see people, in a bad way, whether they're sad or not, for that matter. There are symptoms, believe it or not, of sadness. These symptoms are seasonal affective disorder. It's called SAD. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a counselor of any kind. I only repeat what I feel and have read on Google or looked it up every now and then, the encyclopedia. But the symptoms can be I remember the low mood, persistent low mood, loss of pleasure and interest in normal everyday activities, and feeling irritable but when you feel that feeling of despair, guilt, and worthlessness, low self-esteem, tearfulness, feeling stress, anxious, or reduced sex drive. Yeah, it's real. When you want a lot to say, but you don't really want to say anything. You don't want to be heard. You just want people to listen. And sometimes we have that root of sadness. And I think the root of sadness, and you probably already knew it. I said it earlier, but it's grief. There's no timeline for grief. Often it says, but when we hear this, we might think about the long term. Sadness can be called other things. But often that's the despair, the worthlessness. I mean, when you have that unhappiness or sorrowful, mournful moment that comes to you and never leaves, it doesn't make you feel any better to hear somebody else react to it or say to it. You can feel sad, you can have grief without death. To feel sad about, a good friend or a close friend that has moved away, melancholy or depressed or downhearted, gloomy. I feel gloomy a lot. Despondent even. Everybody has ways that they grieve, and everybody has ways, but there are strong words for sad. Have you ever heard of morose? Morose. It's a word that means extremely gloomy and depressed. For example, you might feel morose after the death of a loved one. You feel anguish, grief, that heartbreak, melancholy. When you're mourning, grieving, poignancy and sorrow is going to be there whether we like that or not, right? Why is sadness painful? Why is sadness painful? I've been asked that. And I've questioned it myself. When you're sad or anxious or you're depressed, those areas of your brain are already more active than you think. When we're sad, we get in places that people don't know we get into. Even if it's in the corner of your head or in the corner of your physical room, wherever it may be, when you're sad, you do want to be alone, but at the same time, you want to be checked on. You just feel like you're a burden to people. You feel like things just can't go right. Things just won't go right. When you're sad, you do feel bad. We have body languages of people can tell on them when they're sad a lot. And you got to look for certain body language, and you know what to look for if you're not one of those people yourself. Your raised inner eyebrows, whatever that means. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's lower corners of the mouth. Like, you don't want to open your mouth and talk much. They have a slumped posture. 7 levels of sadness is like shock, denial, anger, bargaining, depressing, testing, and acceptance. I think that the emotion is deeper than sadness. It says it's melancholy. It's a reflective state of sadness. You dig? We walk through life all the time thinking everybody's happy. Maybe some of you don't, but a lot of us do, and a lot of us know that that's not at all the case. We do get down and out. We do get in a place where we don't like to talk about. If you don't treat it or try to get over your sadness, I'm going to tell you now that it will turn into, if it lasts like 2 more weeks for a fact, and it interferes with your normal everyday functioning, you just might be depressed. It's a crazy thing to think about that, we have sad heart. It's a heart condition. And it develops in response to that intense emotional or physical experience that got you. And it does make you think. But at the same time, we think about a sad heart and it can kill you. Takotsubo-cardiomyopathy. I believe I've said that right. It's exactly what a sad heart is called. Some people, believe it or not, are lovers of sadness where they want that. Morose, I think is how you say that word. It says, sometimes if you're depressed, you're mournful and melancholy, we don't know how to react. Sadness is not necessarily a disease, but I believe it could be classified. See, a lot of us recently are losing people or finding information out about loved ones, and we have our itinerary of everyday life. We see sadness. The grief is what brings sadness on, you dig? I'm not the one to tell you when or how or what to get out of feeling that, unfortunate, heartbreaking sadness that you have. But it'd be a good thing if you did. Nobody wants to be depressed. Trust me. It sucks. We have that hidden sadness. A lot of us do that people don't know about. Someone with hidden depression might seem content or happy or, hell, even productive. But inwardly, there are quiet spaces that aren't easily shared with people. Sometimes the depression symptoms are actually affecting a person's thoughts, feeling, their physical health. You don't always see it. You don't always see these things. I mean, If you find somebody who's unhappy, and they do have that feeling and that sadness and sorrow and discontent, that feeling of unhappiness, downcast and downhearted. I mean, we can keep adding, synonyms all day. But I always say that persistent unhappiness could be that sign of an underlying issue that you don't tell nobody about. I'll tell you that if you or someone you know is struggling, seeking support from a mental health professional can be beneficial, okay? Just remember that grief is felt throughout the whole body. Sadness is felt throughout the whole body. The brain, the organs, the skin, the tissue. Parts of the brain that are located below the conscious mind. They store that physical and emotional sensations of grief. It gets stored. Some people can't just shake it. It ain't that easy. How does grief affect the body? Let me tell you, it affects your brain, your muscles, your joint, your heart, your blood pressure, digestion, sleep, immunity. It all comes. I just hope that if you are in any shape, way, or form sad, I hope that you get over it. And I don't mean get over it like don't get over it. I mean, I hope that struggle you were able to overcome. It's hard for me a lot of times to talk about stuff. Sure, I look it up on the computer, but to add my situations to it, and it's hard because I don't want to share so much. Sadness gets stuck in your body too. It affects your body, but it gets stuck in your body. People feel anger in the head or the chest. They get disgust in the mouth and the stomach. But sadness is in the throat and the chest. And when you're about to cry, you heard something that you didn't want to hear, and it messes your brain up, right? Let me tell you something, that several parts of your brain actually shrink during depression when you're sad. It's called GMB, the gray matter volume. It goes down. If you have ongoing symptoms or serious symptoms even, I leave you with this. A heart can be broken, but it just keeps beating just the same. That's all I got tonight. I hope whatever you're dealing with that you heal from. Those 3 words that I say week after week after week to take us out of the show. Love, peace, chicken grease. Later, guys, and thanks for watching.